The 76ers look to trade Jared McCain for a star player, and is he one of the best trade assets in the NBA? Plus, Daryl Morey making some waves in the media with his recent comments about the Lakers' 2020 NBA championship. Got plenty to discuss on both of these topics. Before we do that, though, today, as I record this on Thursday, July 31st, the last day of July. And if you've been watching the channel, you know we've been in a sub battle with all our other NBA channels here at Chat Sports. So, on the last day, we have a good lead over Celtics today. I feel pretty good about that. We're about 110, 120 subs behind Warriors today for third place. Can we do it? Can we catch them, end the month on a good note, and go into August strong? I promise you hit that sub button. You will not regret it. The best Sixers coverage you will find right here on YouTube. So let's start off on the Jared McCain front. Bleacher Report recently put out an article where they ranked the top 10 trade chips in the NBA right now. Now, they specified this isn't the 10 most valuable trade assets necessarily in the NBA, like not the star guys that could bring in the most value. These are the 10 assets, players, and picks that you could use to get those star players. You get what I'm saying here? The guys that you would put in a trade to go get your Giannis Antetokounmpo, to go get your big name players, right? So the guys that you want to go get those players. Of those top 10, Philadelphia had 2 of the top 5 trade chips according to Bleacher Report. So a lot of people saying the Sixers don't have assets. Their future's kind of looking bleak. But they got some assets and some future draft capital and young talent that they can use to their advantage. Bleacher Report's top trade chips. Here are the top 5. Number 1, out of all trade chips across the NBA, thinking about, young players with value and valuable draft picks, Jared McCain, number 1. Then you see Phoenix's 2027, 2029 first-round picks. Those are owned by the Houston Rockets. Number 3 is Kel'el Ware, the young big for the Miami Heat. Number 4 is Ron Holland, young forward for the Detroit Pistons. And then number 5, that 2028 Clippers pick that the Sixers do own. So some value there. Let's get into some of the talk on Jared McCain. Should the Sixers trade him? Would I consider trading him? What could you get back? We'll dive into all of that. First, let's start with what Bleacher Report had to say about Jared McCain. Sixers fans might cringe at the suggestion Jared McCain could somehow, some way be feasibly available. And that's fair. If you believe this current core's injury issues are too great to overcome, the idea of trading a 21-year-old who packed as much high-end potential into a 23-game sample size as McCain did just should be a non-starter. Philadelphia, though, might not share that same sentiment. Not when the healthy version of Joel Embiid remains an MVP challenger. Not when the healthy-ish version of this team should be good enough to contend in the wide-open Eastern Conference. Plus, McCain, a scoring guard with defensive limitations, maybe isn't the best long-term fit with Tyrese Maxey, especially not if the Sixers think they could replace McCain with number 3 pick VJ Edgecombe and hopefully a re-signed Quentin Grimes. A McCain trade, while not likely, feels like it has a greater than non-zero chance of happening. So he'll snag our number 1 spot by virtue of his ahead of schedule efficiency, ignitable scoring, and no hesitation shot creation, which all add up to significant star potential. Now look, we'll start here. There's no question that McCain is a valuable trade piece. What he showed in a very small sample size after being the 16th overall pick, a lot of people had some questions of how his game would be able to translate to the NBA. Could he make an early impact? And although the Sixers didn't win a lot of games, McCain was phenomenal in the time that he did spend out there on the floor for Philadelphia this season. In 25.7 minutes per game over that 23-game sample size, put up over 15 points, just over 2 rebounds, 2.5 assists, and was extremely efficient from the field as well, 46% from the field, 38.3% from 3. There were nights where he was looking like this team's best player when players were out with injuries and there was really no one else to go to out there on the floor, and he just looked like someone who has been in the NBA for multiple years. Some of his advanced shooting numbers here that really all look phenomenal for the most part. Shot almost 44% on catch and shoot threes, only 29% on pull up threes. Well, it's not terrible, certainly a lot of room to grow there. Again, 23 games in his NBA career, but he shot 52% on pull up twos, an area where I thought he was phenomenal, getting to his spots in the mid range, rising up, knocking down shots around the free throw line. 44% on wide open threes. That's shots where you have 6 or more feet of separation. And then almost 40% on above the break threes. So anything kind of above that corner area, really at the top of the key outside of the 3-point line, where that's the real test of a good shooter. Can you shoot above the break, or are you only a corner 3-point shooter? McCain was hitting them from everywhere on the floor. So he did show some super exciting skills, not just the ability to not knock down outside shots, which of course is very valuable in today's NBA, but I thought he showed more as a ball handler than I would have expected. He really, the area that he impressed me the most in, again, was the ability to create his own shots in that mid-range. Despite being a limited athlete, he's very crafty, he's very smart, even able to get to the basket at times. So just way ahead of schedule at this point in his career, as Bleacher Report did reference. Now, the big question with Jared McCain, of course, how does he respond to that torn left meniscus he did suffer last December? Because it's an injury that, look, I'm not going to compare this to Joel Embiid's situation, right? But Embiid has gone through multiple torn meniscus injuries and surgeries, and we know sometimes how that type of thing can go. Now, by all accounts, Jared McCain is doing well in his recovery. The Sixers actually just posted this on their social media pages just the other day. McCain is back at the Sixers practice facilities. There was a chance he might have been able to play in Summer League, although that was probably overblown a little bit. He hasn't been taking part in like fall practices or anything, but at least going through some individual work. You can see he has that leg sleeve on that left leg where he injured that meniscus. So good to see him back out there, getting shots up, playing basketball again and moving around a little bit, moving pretty well. So I do expect he's ready. Maybe not for training camp, but definitely by the start of the regular season. But something to monitor, of course, because as good as he looked, we have to see if he can continue that coming off the injury. More to get to on the McCain front, including my opinion on if Philadelphia should trade him or not. But before I give you my thoughts, I want to hear your guys' thoughts. What say you? Would you trade Jared McCain today if it meant you could get back a star player? Just give me a simple yes or no down in the comment section. So, what would it take for me and for the Sixers to trade Jared McCain already after just 1 year where he showed so much promise, but it was such a limited sample size? First, I think you have to determine how you value McCain on this roster with the way it's constructed. Because, of course, you have Maxey, you have McCain, you have VJ Edgecombe, and you assume you're going to have Quentin Grimes. Some people think that's too much at the guard spot. I'm in the camp that I think all these guys can play. They can play together, and you can figure out ways for them all to impact on the floor. I think they can all make an impact. You can have 3 of those guys out there at the same time. I think it's a strength for this team as opposed to an issue. So I don't see McCain as the odd man out or someone you need to move. I think you can keep all of them. That being said, I value McCain pretty highly. And I was canvassing the league as I was making this video, looking to see what star players I think could realistically be available via trade in the next year. At least some kind of chance that their season goes south and that they could request a trade from their team. And there were only 2 players as I went around the entire NBA that I could at least somewhat realistically see being traded in the near future that I would be willing to give up Jared McCain for. Those 2 players, Giannis Antetokounmpo and Devin Booker. Giannis and the Bucks, what is their situation right now? They, of course, lost Damian Lillard. They're bringing in Miles Turner, but the roster really doesn't look that good, and there was rumors of Giannis being traded this past offseason. And then Devin Booker, Kevin Durant's gone, Bradley Beal's gone. They're going through a rebuild. He says he wants to be there, but that's at least a situation I could somewhat see Devin Booker maybe asking out. So really, those are the only 2 players at this point in time I could see potentially on the market. Of course, there's other guys like, if Victor Wembanyama was in the market, yeah, I'd trade Jared McCain, right? Or if Luka was in the market again, yeah, I'd trade Jared McCain. But I kind of wanted to keep it to guys I could realistically see be traded. It's really just these 2 guys. Otherwise, I personally am holding on to Jared McCain. Now, of course, also mentioned in that article by Bleacher Report, Sixers had another very valuable trade asset in that Clippers 2028 first-round pick, which Bleacher Report said is the 5th best trade chip in the NBA if a team is looking to go out and get a star player. Once again, it's like this team has more assets, but I think a lot of non-Sixers fans and casual NBA fans would lead to believe, given how bleak their future has been set out to be. Here's Bleacher Report on that Clippers pick. Much like their Pacific Division rival Warriors, the Clippers are operating on their own 2-year plan, right? 2 years. Kawhi Leonard, 2 years left in his deal. James Harden, 1 guaranteed, 1 player option year. And then only Zubac will definitely be on the roster for 2027-2028. The Clippers already were the third oldest team headed into last season and surely has climbed the ladder since. During this offseason, or during the season, it traded for a 32-year-old Bogdan Bogdanovic, and in the offseason, they're bringing 32-year-old Bradley Beal, 37-year-old Brook Lopez, 40-year-old Chris Paul. Their championship window might be the NBA's narrowest. Even if their owner, the guy who runs things over there, Steve Ballmer, is ready to spend big on their next iteration, still going to be a massive, massive rebuild effort on their hands. That's the hope of the Sixers, at least, as they own this pick and are never shy about brokering a big trade if they believe it can move them closer to a championship breakthrough. Another thing I don't think that other NBA fans are talking about enough is how valuable this pick is for Philadelphia. As Bleacher Report mentioned, all these old guys they have in the roster, players only under contract for the next couple of seasons. This Clippers team could really look different in a few years. And we've talked about this before. Some people in the comments have said, yeah, but it's the Clippers, their owner, Steve Ballmer. He always has a plan. He's always willing to spend. That might be true, but it doesn't guarantee you the fact that they're going to be able to make something happen. So the Sixers have some ammo, man, for a big-time trade. We'll see if they decide to end up using any of it, whether that's McCain, whether that's these picks and these other young players. But having some of these trade assets is going to be very big for the Sixers, especially if things do go south with Joel Embiid and with Paul George. We'll get to Daryl Morey here in just a minute, but got to keep telling you guys about this deal on this Sixers cutoff hoodie because they keep getting sold, and you got to get yours before they are completely gone. An insane, insane deal on these cutoff hoodies. Were $100 originally, priced down to just $45. It is a steal, but as I said, it's not going to last long, so you got to act fast. You go to chatsports.com/Sixers hoodie. You can take advantage before the season comes around, and these things go right back up to $100. Again, chatsports.com/Sixers hoodie. I'll have that in the comment section and description of today's show. So Daryl Morey making some headlines with an interesting take that's been highly debated across NBA Twitter, really for the last, 5 years now? We're in the year 2025, and I disagree with his take on the Lakers title, but I know a lot of you will agree with what he had to say. Here's Daryl Morey on that Lakers title in the bubble back in 2020. Had the Rockets won the title, I absolutely would have celebrated it as legit, knowing the immense effort and resilience it required. Yet, everyone I speak to around the league privately agrees it doesn't truly hold up as a genuine championship. Perhaps the lasting legacy of the NBA bubble is that the NBA should be proud of its leadership at both the beginning and end of the pandemic, but the champion will forever be marked by an asterisk. Look, I'm not on that side of Morey. I think that winning that championship in the bubble for the Lakers took a lot, right? Not only do you not get home court advantage in the playoffs like the Lakers should have, because, of course, they're playing in that bubble down in Florida, right? But being isolated, right? And being away from your families and your friends and having no fans in there. I get it's it's almost like the purest form of basketball. We've heard all the players talk about the bubble as being the purest form of hoops they've ever had. And the players have talked about how difficult it was. So who are we, as fans to say, oh, it's a Mickey Mouse championship. It's La Mickey, it's La Disney, right? Like, the players have said it was very, very difficult to play in that environment, even if when they were on the floor, kind of felt like pick up a little bit. Maybe players are playing better out there. Man, that was a grind for them. It was different. It was just a big switch up. And the Lakers, man, they were a very talented team. They were one of the better teams in the NBA before the season got shut down and canceled anyways. So, I get you want to say that being in the bubble, it changed things and it made it easier for them. But personally, I'm just not on that side of things. I disagree with Daryl Morey, although it's funny to see him come out and say something like this, especially with him saying, oh, if the Rockets would have won, it would have been totally cool. Sixers, I think, got swept that year by the Celtics in the bubble. Another bad year for the Philadelphia 76ers. But funny to see Daryl Morey making some headlines now, even if it doesn't have anything to do with the Philadelphia 76ers. But speaking of the Sixers, of course, I'm always talking about them. here on 76ers Now. But I'm also always talking about the Sixers over on social media, both on my personal Twitter at Jake Chipper, but also we have an Instagram account for the channel at 76ers Now IG, trying to grow both of those platforms, posting a lot of short form content over on each of those. So give me a follow, say what's up, and we'll see you next time right here on 76ers Now.